all drawn to stories from a very early age. We stimulate our imagination by stories. We make sense of life through stories.
I like storytelling because it ends up being so personal. It means something completely different depending on who's watching it and what that person's experiences and history are.
I think the fun of movies and TV is the ability to ask great and weird what-if questions. And certainly Fringe is something that from the beginning did that.
There's been a lot to play with, and I certainly didn't think at the beginning that this is where we'd sort of end up.
I've been very, very blessed to be able to tell these tales of human connection through this amazing prism called Fringe. I hate to say goodbye.
We're rolling!
So tell me your name and the character you play.
Okay, my name is Jessica Nicole, and I play the role of Astrid Farnsworth.
My name is Josh Jackson, and the character's name is Peter Bishop.
My name is Lance Reddick, and I play Special Agent in Charge, Philip Broyles.
My name is Blair Brown. I'm playing Nina Sharp.
Olivia Dunham, FBI.
So you're telling me my father was Dr. Frankenstein?
Fringe is my favorite kind of show because it takes people that you really like, that you really care about, that you want to be with and work with and know, and it puts them into the scariest situations you've ever seen in your life. You know, there are some scenes in this pilot that I think are straight out of, you know, my and our nightmares. The first idea for the show, it was called The Lab in my head. That was kind of where it took place. We came up with a bunch of long-term ideas, but tried to set them up in the pilot as much as possible so that there was a clear potential for a trajectory, knowing full well that over the years things would go in places we could never anticipate if we were lucky enough to get the show on the air.
Alf only marker.
When the show started filming, I didn't come into it with, you know, like a massive series behind him like Josh did, or, you know, like a lifetime of, you know, work like John did. So I felt very green. I was cast and on a plane in like a day. I packed in an hour, and there's not a lot of time to prep. But when it's sort of quick, you really just go on instinct. And I think you just keep playing it minute for minute, and slowly the characters developed.
You know, the man who was just released from the mental institution, he wants to give you a drug overdose, stick a metal rod into your head, and then place you naked in a tank of water.
No, I don't want to. No, I'd rather not. I'm just saying, like, all right.
I just remember jumping into it with both feet, and, you know, a pilot is such an exciting place to be because it's all fresh, it's all new, and everybody is just trying to make it the best thing that it can be. This is what I like the most about it. It takes the world that we live in and then goes just slightly into the ridiculous zone, which good sci-fi does. It's our world, just with all the possibilities opened up. And that's fun to me. You know, you can never tell what it is that's going to happen next.
I know exactly who you are. Suit up. Who is Philip Broyles? You know, I'm still kind of trying to figure that out myself. He's a real, if you pardon my putting it this way, he's a real hard ass. I remember looking forward to the challenge of playing a character that had such an edge to him. The one question that people asked me most often when they stopped me on the street was, is Broyles a good guy or a bad guy? Now that's not even a question.
Set it up.
Excellent. Let's make some LSD. One of my first impressions, it's almost embarrassing in retrospect, but it was right in the beginning, and I'd not met some of the cast at this stage, and I walked past Lance Reddick, and I stopped and I said, "Oh my God, you're beautiful." I can remember saying, "You're a god." Such a bold thing to say to another man. I think I even touched his face, which would have probably horrified him. But I remember that quite vividly. This will rip open your consciousness.
We knew a number of things. We knew about the, you know, alternate universe. We knew that Peter was switched out on some level, that he was saved. We knew that Olivia had been part of this Cortexiphan trial, but the truth is that a lot of what we did was just from that place of, that would be really cool, or isn't that a scary idea.
How long has he been dead?
The ending of this is absolutely, completely brilliant. In the fact that we don't know really what's happened. This man is dead, and she says, yeah, question him. You know, it opens up a whole Pandora's box.
I would say this to my own daughter. You should know what you're getting into, Agent Dunham.
When the show started out, I remember thinking like, well, I'm crazy for science fiction. I mean, I love science fiction, but it's not like I've written a lot of it. JJ basically said, look, man, it's not really a science fiction show. It's a show about a family, you know. Then all kinds of buzzers and lights and everything went off. The heights that we could climb on the program were really exciting to me and sort of intoxicating.
What happened on the plane is just the beginning.
The first season of every show is sort of very much frenetic and back and forth and trying to find, you know, its way and trying to find its voice and trying to find its, you know, its characters, and then it sort of claims itself a bit. And then we shift to different universes and different timelines, but that's what makes Fringe Fringe.
Resistance is futile.
The network allowed the show to remain on the air long enough to finish on its terms. Unlike a lot of shows that either go on far too long, where you kind of have to remember 2 or 3 or 4 seasons back when it was great, or shows that get cut off way too early. This is that very rare, you know, animal that actually got to live its life.
Oh my. I couldn't believe that we wouldn't get season 5. I thought, this just demands the completion of this complex, great big saga we've created. And so I was going along on the premise, probably mistaken and foolhardy, that of course we'll get a season 5. It makes complete sense to me as a storyteller.
It was an interesting moment where you're renewed, but you know, at the same time, there's a tremendous internal question, which is like, well, what now? So there was a decision to be made. I came up with sort of 2 criteria. The first one was that I would want everything to end logically, and I wanted the characters to sort of logically conclude. I had to boil it down to figure out what themes are important to me and then sort of draw a map. Once that season-long map is there, I can get into the individual stories like Peter falling in love with his father, to have Olivia find strength and vulnerability, and Walter trying to find some desperate way to sort of make things right.
Joel had told us that if there is a season 5, that it would take place in the year 2036, and he came with a lot of like tentpoles to the season already, and then we were definitely looking for a way to make the whole series feel like one piece.
There was a time when we solved Fringe cases. Now I think it's time we created a few of our own.
This season, I mean, it's really fun to sort of figure out some of the things that we're gonna bring back. And I know there's gonna be, you know, so many people saying, well, you know, you didn't answer this, or you didn't answer this, but you can't answer everything, okay? So you gotta pick and choose. And the ones that we all picked were the ones that, you know, meant something to us.
Astrid, you see him? Some of the gags and some of the experiments that we used earlier, they're now bringing back in. And so all sorts of memories are flooding back simply because of the fact that we've had this opportunity to complete our story.
Have I had all my answers, my questions answered? Gosh, no, not nearly.
There was I guess a shift in my understanding of how I was going to tell stories. In seasons past, there was always an objective point of view. Like, you got to watch our characters go through things and you watch them make their decisions. This season, I wanted to be right down with them. Things need to be lost in order to be gained. And I wanted you to get your heart ripped out with them, because I felt that at the end of it, you'll be so much closer to these characters because they've actually been through it with them.
It's okay. Everything's gonna be fine. I'm just...
In the final season, we're able to take the characters into darker places or places that people might be less comfortable with. And that can be challenging for some people, but those who stuck with it were rewarded, I think.
It's been quite a journey.
We've lost a lot.
My favorite sort of thing is to figure out a way to tell a story where you get to a place where you've really earned something that would seem insane to do early on. But if the seeds are there and you know you're going to get to it, you can earn it.
I think Joel wrote a pretty excellent finale that is the necessary end of season 5, but it also allows every character to get to a finished place.
Peter, I sent you a letter.
I thought the emotion was very, very important, and I wanted to focus on that. Writing those emotional scenes and that, hopefully will be memorable. I want people to feel. I want them to remember it, and I want them to be part of it. That is very difficult to put it into words.
I was really impressed. I was really impressed when I read the finale. I mean, I cried a couple times.
Just remembering every single season finale that we've had that always said end of season, end of season. It just said end of series, and that was it. It was like, oh my God, I just went on such an emotional journey reading this script.
To watch these characters that I think had some potential when we created them, realized to the degree that Joel infused into this thing, was kind of like watching kids that you have sort of go off and have their own lives. It was such a sort of point of pride to be associated with that show.